Good morning, everybody. So, good news, chest day. And I wanted to re-record this video because last time the audio was fucked. And I want to show you a couple of exercises that I do. I have been doing for a while. I mean, the style of the routine, the way that it is. I always started with some sort of flies for my warm-up, and then I was moving into my sort of like heavy presses, Smith machine or just the bench, dumbbells, barbells, whatever. Doesn't really matter. But I always liked stretching the pecs before I actually put any load on them. So, and guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna mimic Eric Zanicki's again, yes, chest workout, or at least we're gonna mimic his top 5 exercises, which again I think are very good because I've done them and I can feel the difference. So as per usual, we're gonna do mid chest, then we're gonna move into upper chest, and then we're gonna do some sort of pressing movement, probably with a Smith machine over there or an incline, obviously. I'll explain the reasons as I go along, but this is definitely one of the best. I love this routine. I love this sort of day when I just do chest and then I do some triceps at the end. But it's just, I don't know, it's something about stretching your pecs that I just enjoy doing. So with that in mind, I'm still in my warm-up. So setting it up might be a little bit of a hassle, but once you do, you did. So it's all right. So yeah, in terms of technique, your back is on all the way, it's kind of like in a fixed position to the bench. And from there, you start from there, elbows down, and then slowly you stretch your pecs. You have to be comfortable in this position right here. A lot of people are not, and that's because people are so tight. But this is a good way to kind of like stretch your muscles in the beginning. And then you just bring your hands together and you just squeeze. Don't do that. Don't hunch over, because otherwise your front delts are going to take over, which takes away from the pecs. So once again, elbows down. Nice and deep stretch. And then you squeeze on top. Oof. Yeah, it's good enough in terms of a warm-up. The other thing as well, it doesn't take too long to warm up on this. It always takes me like 2 to 3 sets, with obviously sufficient enough weight to do that. And then I'm moving into the rest, or the actual working sets then. So, yeah, I mean, again, the thing with bodybuilding, I'm pretty sure that science says this too. The more you stretch the muscle under load, the better it is from a hypertrophy standpoint. So stretching it as much as possible and then bringing it back together, squeezing on the top, it's probably the best thing you can do. And if you can slow the movement down significantly, the better it's going to be, because time under tension, right? So yeah, key things: time under tension, make sure you're stretching the muscle as much as possible. Obviously, I don't mean, hurt yourself or get into a weird, uncomfortable position. Just stretch it. Make sure that your technique is right. You shouldn't really hurt yourself if the technique is right and the weight is not stupid. And yeah, bring it back together, and then that's it. We're going to move to the second exercise when I'm done with this. And the second exercise is actually for my upper chest. I think a lot of people neglect it. Incline presses, whatever kind, dumbbells, barbell, or Smith machine, they're good. They really are. However, isolating the top part of your chest, I don't think it's that simple. And when you're in a Smith machine, or especially if you do free weights with a barbell or dumbbells, yeah, you can get a good stretch, a very good stretch with the dumbbells if you're using them properly. But still, there's a lot of like shoulder stability involved. There's a lot of tricep involved. So it's kind of like Do you really isolate the top of the chest? I don't think so. But yeah, with the second exercise, I'm going to show you what I mean when I say isolation of the top muscles at the back. And it really makes a difference, by the way. You'll see what I mean. But yeah, I think with that in mind, we're going to move into the first actual set. Right. So you're back. It's all the way back to the bench. You know, it's in a fixed position. It doesn't move. It has to be in contact with the bench. And the reason is when you come here, you know, the bench is stopping you from doing anything weird. So that works very well. All right. Yeah, that was good enough. Good enough for the first set. So we're going to do 3 here. Then we're going to move into the upper chest, and then we're going to do some Smith machine. And then we have triceps, and then we're done. Right, so second set. Enjoyed myself. There we go. Right. Oh. All right. Yeah, that feels very good. I might cut the on the edit on the videos out. I might actually cut the set short because obviously I understand that it's just a bit repetitive, and I'm not saying anything because I'm focusing on the movement. So yeah, what I'm saying is rep range is anywhere from 8 to 14 on this for me. I think that is a very decent rep range, and when I say anywhere from 8 to 14 is somewhere in between that range. You sort of have to reach failure. Now, on these exercises, I try to avoid doing partials. The reason I try to avoid doing partials is you could get injured. And failure, so there's a couple of ways to achieve failure, as I've said before in previous videos. So failure is either you can't move the weight anymore on a full, you can't complete the full range of motion, so you do partials, and then you do the partial of a partial, and then you stop. Because obviously you can't move the weight anymore, which is okay in some scenarios. It's fine, I guess. For example, the leg extension. In my opinion, that's fine. You can do it, and the pump feels nice, and you're pretty secure, I would say, on the leg extension machine. So why not? With these, it's a bit different, and I'm always mindful of that. So failure technically is when you can't complete a full range of motion rep. You've reached failure. Like you can't move anymore. You can't stretch all the way, and you can't bring it back all the way. So that's failure. That's good enough. So yeah, in these exercises, I personally would avoid doing partials. If you guys want to, that's up to you. If it feels so good, yeah, by all means. But yeah, so keep that in mind. Right, so last set, for the most part, it's just the same as the first 2 sets. So remember, elbows down, Stretch all the way. You have to be comfortable here. This must be a position that you feel comfortable. If you're not, just keep doing this, and eventually the stretch, just by doing the exercise, you're going to stretch the backs and you're going to be all right. But yeah, don't be tight on your backs. That's not a good spot to be tight, because it leads, well, it can lead into sort of, the joint health is not going to be great. The shoulder health is not going to be there for the most part if your backs are tight. There's a bunch of stuff. I don't think you're going to be able to move as much weight too, so that's a big no-no, obviously. So yeah, elbows down, stretch all the way. Keep it here a bit if you want. That's nice, and then flex on the top. Make sure you don't hunch over, because then your front delts are taking over. So your back has to be fixed on the bench. No. Oh. Yeah. All right. That's first exercise done. We're good. We're moving in a good pace. Yeah. And now we're going to hit upper chest. I'll show you the difference. Just give me a second to set it up, and then I'll show you the difference. But it's pretty simple, and it's pretty good. It's pretty efficient. Right, so I set it up. This one. So let me tell you the first difference. The bench is just slightly tilted backwards, and the front seat is slightly tilted upwards. The reason I did that is so my butt has to be planted there, and I'll show you why, because my back is actually not going to come in contact with the bench. So there's a big difference from the first exercise to this one. I think this is the massive one. Obviously, the position, hand position, is also very different. But look, I mean, I'm not all the way back here. I'm here. So my butt is planted that way, and it's not going to go anywhere. And the exercise, pretty simple. You have your chest out, you stretch, and then you're coming up. Keep your shoulders back so you can get the stretch, and then squeeze at the top. There we go. Oh, nope. Yeah, that wasn't moving anymore. So this is a fantastic exercise for upper chest, because you can actually isolate the muscle. As I said before, I mean, look, incline presses of whatever type, they're fine, and they are nice, and probably you get to move a lot of weight around if you're like me, and it looks cool. This is significantly less cool, because obviously you're not moving as much weight. It doesn't, or at least it doesn't look like you do. But in my opinion, this is so much more effective for chest development. So you do your flies, your pec flies, mid-chest pec flies, and then you move into that. That is purely upper chest. There's nothing else. I don't feel my shoulders. I don't feel my front delts. Triceps, obviously not. Honestly, everything that's happening, it's happening up here. And that's rare, man, because, as I said, even on incline presses, whatever that might be, it's very hard to completely isolate. I think it's impossible, actually, to completely isolate your upper chest, because obviously you're using other muscles to do the lift. Triceps, your delts. So it's like you're using your core, obviously, stabilize yourself. I don't even know why I said that, but it's there. Your feet are very planted, so sometimes you can actually drive from the ground all the way up. there's a lot going on, and especially if you're doing free weights, well, then you have to worry about balance. So, that's something as well on top of everything else, which obviously limits the amount of weight that you can actually push or the duration for which you can push. Because the systemic fatigue on free weight exercises is through the roof. For anybody who doesn't know what systemic fatigue is, there is muscle fatigue, like local fatigue, like for example, upper chest fatigue, which, if you can 100% isolate the top back, it's really like, well, that big of a muscle. Systemic fatigue is when you're using your entire body, more or less, to do an exercise. Now, obviously, if you're doing presses, this really is what's moving the weight and maybe a little bit of your triceps. So it's not your entire body, but you're still using your entire body. So the systemic fatigue that you get is much higher than, this exercise, which is great. Because if you're doing these exercises, your chest is going to grow more efficiently and faster, and it's going to get a lot bigger. And you get to train hard on every other lift in the week, because the systemic fatigue, it can't catch up, I don't think. If you're doing flies, I don't see how you can get so tired. You have other issues if that's the case, but yeah, no, for the most part, I hope it was pretty simple what I actually did. So again, your back is not in contact with the bench, and then your arms, shoulders back, obviously, your chest is all the way out, and then you're just sort of doing that. One other thing, don't go too high. It's gonna be front delts if you do so. I think, like, right there, like literally where your eyesight is good enough. I don't think your hands should come further up than your actual delts. So if you stop where your delts at, you're pretty good. Yeah, it's a pretty simple exercise, honestly. It might feel a little weird in the beginning if you're doing it for the first couple of times, but it's not that complicated, and it's actually pretty simple. Setting it up might be a pain, but I mean, if it works. Right, so set number 2. There we go. Oh, oh, one more set here. Then we're gonna move into some sort of press. Yeah, upper chest. That's all I'm feeling right now, and it's pretty good. Right. Last set here, and then we're gonna move. All right. Oh, nope. Oh. All right. That felt really good. And now we're going to move into the Smith machine and do some presses. All right, guys, so we're going to move to the Smith presses on an incline, obviously, as you can probably see. So a couple of tips. I don't have a lot of weight up there. It's only 25 kg on each side, so that's that. I don't know how heavy the Smith machine is, but as I've said in previous videos, it's pretty heavy, that one. It's either that or there is no grease here, and this just makes it a little bit hard to move it up and down. But anyway, for the most part, there's only 25 kilograms on each side. It's not a lot for, if I am to compare what I'm usually doing. However, this is purely hypertrophy. And when you're training for hypertrophy, you don't really need a ton of weight on the bar. So I'm showing my technique. We're going a little bit wider than shoulder width. I like to use the guides here for that. So a little bit wide, a little bit wider than shoulder width, and gonna relax. Right. Pull out chest. You're gonna bring it down nice and slow. That's your chest. Drive. That's your chest. And drive. Remember, your elbows must be tucked. Go all the way down so you can get the big, nice stretch. And then you drive. Whoa. Oh. 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 Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. For the most part, you're just gonna get that nice deep stretch on your pecs. As I said, there isn't a shit ton of weight, but because of the of how slow I'm moving, time under tension is just significantly reduced. You can look the video back; it's probably gonna be more than a minute, of me just actually moving the weight. So I prefer that over 30 seconds of lifting twice this weight. You're just gonna get injured, I think, in my opinion. So this isn't, from a longevity standpoint. I mean, could I move more weight? Yeah, I could move more weight, but that's not the goal here. The goal here is hypertrophy. And obviously, as I'm cutting, you got to be aware, if you are going to do that, if you know how to do that, especially, you're more prone to injury than if you're bulking or maintaining your whatever your natural weight is, like a healthy natural weight. So yeah, for the most part, a couple of tips. As I said, I'm going a little bit wider than shoulder width, so I can get this nice extra deep stretch. My elbows are always tucked in so they don't flare out. And the other thing, you probably see that the bar is coming up pretty much not where my nipples is. It was kind of like midway from nipple to upper chest. So it hits there. That's because I'm focusing on upper chest more, because I think upper chest is probably one of the hardest muscles in your entire body to grow. Not because it's necessarily, mentally taxing, or I don't know, like quads are, for example. It's kind of hard to isolate the top bit. And I mean, this part here is, you're always going to train that. You are literally using that from day-to-day life. But this bit up there is a bit of a different story, and it's really neglected. So yeah, I focus all my movements on upper chest, but yeah, for the most part, that's it. Right, so we're going to hit it from a different angle. Camera-wise, I'm doing the same movement, but... Alright, so... Remember, if your goal is hypertrophy, reduce the weight, do more reps, and do them more slowly, so you can do more time under tension. So for the most part, a bit wider than shoulder grip, a bit wider than shoulder width, and relax, elbows tucked in, all the way down. That's pause, drive. That's pause, drive. Oh, oh, oh. Can really feel the burn there on my top pack. My upper chest. Listen, I can't really speak right now because I'm trying to catch my breath. But yeah, I can really feel the burn up here, which is very good news. Oh. See, overall, I think a lot of people, especially on the Smith machine, I've seen them doing close-up grip, which is absolutely fine, but you have to know, you can move more weight if you have a close-up grip. So, for example, here, you do get a lot of support from the triceps. So, and because when you have a closer grip, what happens also, you limit the range of motion. You don't really go here. Well, here you can like properly stretch your chest. Here it's a little bit difficult to do that, or at least it becomes more limiting. So the range of motion is very different. So as I said, if your goal is to get big muscles, you need to get that deep stretch. Because if you're going to stop here, well, what's the point? That's half a rep. So yeah, do your reps properly with a deep, nice stretch. And as I said, look, I saw this on the actual move, but you come down, you touch, you pause, you drive up. Should be simple. And yet you'd be surprised how many people are actually doing it the wrong way. Not necessarily the wrong way. Obviously, different people have different goals, but yeah, I mean, again, if your goal is hypertrophy, there is really one way of doing it, and that's get a proper stretch and slow the reps down significantly, control the weight at all times. Said this before, you need to control the weight. I don't care if it's uncomfortable, I don't care if you're out of breath, you need to control the weight. If I just see you moving it for the sake of moving it, I know and you know you're full of shit. Right, last set, then we're gonna do some triceps and then we're out of here. So for triceps, there aren't really any wrong answers here in terms of what you can and cannot do. In my opinion, anything that you can do that you can actually isolate the tricep and not use front delts or your weight to sort of, put the weight down, it should be all right. And obviously, as long as you can actually feel your tricep tensing up, then that's good enough. One of my favorites is using cables here, but obviously instead of just doing the normal tricep extension, which you're doing with a rope, I'm just doing single arm. It's just so much better. When I have a rope and I'm using both my arms, lower chest, in my opinion, sometimes takes over, and it's actually helping on the movement, especially when your triceps are giving out. It happens kind of like subconsciously. So single arm, by far more effective. Obviously, it takes a little bit more time because you have to do both arms, but for the most part, yeah, single arm tricep extensions are pretty good. And from there, any sort of movement that your hands are going up and below, sorry, above and below your head, like going on the back, we'll just give you that stretch right here. That's also pretty good for triceps. And I am using a variation of, these sort of exercises and cables throughout the week. But for today, we are gonna just do single arm cable tricep extensions. So there isn't really any magic here. You just make sure that your tricep is doing all the move. It's pretty simple. Hopefully you can see the tricep being extended and everything. And flexing. Yeah, you have to flex the tricep right there. Hold it as usual. Slow the repetition down. Yes. Oh. Oh. All right. Yes. 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 Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that was good enough. All right, so we don't have a shit ton of time, so I'm gonna move fairly quickly on to the next set. All right. Yes. Yes. Make sure you feel the muscle stretching and tensing up throughout the movement. And don't spare yourself any range of motion. That's it. Yes. Yeah. Nope. Oh. All right. Just because I'm moving very fast, I'm going to reduce the weight slightly. That should be good enough. Because my muscles are absolutely toast right now, so I don't have enough time to rest them properly. So this is kind of like a drop set. Mix and match, guys. I might be a little bit too light, but all right, we'll do the reps. Ooh. Ooh. Oh. Oh. It's oh. All right. Yes. Oh, oh, yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah, that was a pretty good workout. So let's, you know, do a little bit of posing before I go. Cool. So, yeah, triceps are at toast at the moment. I can't even stretch them properly. Our triceps are absolutely toast, but I mean, to be expected. Oh, yeah. Look at that chest bump. Yeah. Not bad. Yeah, triceps look alright. And the chest as well. Oh, this is tiring. But yeah. No, I mean, you can probably see what I mean when I say chest bump. It's like all of that here, I just burned. Can't even feel it when I post for the most part, unless it's cramping up. Then I can feel it. But yeah. Oh, it was good. Oh, see you tomorrow then. On the back day. Peace.